Let's make some psychedelic downtempo trip hop. I was really inspired by Tipper's Broken Soul Jamboree album, but there's a little more in here as well. Let's hear the beat through one time. Alright, let's get started. We need a great atmosphere for this style, so let's start there. For mine, I'm using tree tone with a steps device moving the spread and shift parameters every measure to give us a progression to work with. The rain knob adds some interest as well. I've got a parallel chain with a spectral resonator bringing out a low A note with some heavy compression to use as a pedal against the chords. I'm using a shaper box to make it pulse with the tempo. Vinyl is aging it back a ways, adding some mechanical and electrical noise as well as a little crackle and warble. I'm using ROM to put it all in a nice space. Next, I'm compressing as well as boosting with distressor, and then removing the lows and a couple problem frequencies. I'm filtering out the top end in the B section for some variation, and using a tape stop effect to punctuate transitions. Because tree tone is always running with the transport, I flattened it down to audio so I could get eyes on it. Let's listen to our finished atmosphere. Sounds pretty great to me. The drums should have a classic headnod boom bap feel. I'm using the Golden Era Hip Hop Drums pack by Sound Oracle. Don't be afraid to use these packs off the Ableton site, they've got some great sounds ready to use. I even started with a MIDI clip right out of the pack. But that can just be our secret. In the B section, I'm using a different kick from the same kit. I'm using the internal LFO to open and close the filter cutoff a bit, and an external LFO to modulate the loop length. That already sounded pretty gooey, and so I used a disperser to accentuate it. I've got some quick fills in Foley for spot effects and turnarounds. I really love this record rewind, pulling us right back to the top of the groove. The entire drum group gets some parallel reverb. Lately I've been putting the Sound City Studios by Universal on all my drum groups, I just love it. Finally, we're getting some punch and beef with distressor, and controlling the transients with clipper. That'll do for me. The twitchy, skittery percussion is absolutely essential for this style. Here's mine. Our first layer is a simpler on slice mode, loaded with a mud pie of these little chirps. I'm randomizing the note length, as well as which slice will be chosen, and adding a slight chance that a note won't play at all. I'm also compressing to get the level even, and using an envelope follower to turn down the rain knob back on our atmosphere pad when these chirps are happening, just so there's not too many tiny little transients in our ears at once. You can see that some of these notes are sliced up like this. The next layer is a long sample of my girlfriend's Cricut decal cutting machine that I put through Infiltrator. It's just a string of awesome mechanical nonsense, and I'm using this operator to open up a gate in the moments between the other chirps. And if you don't like any particular section, you can just snip it out and scrub through to find something you like a little bit more. Finally, we've got some nice squishy grains I made with Refractalizer. All of these glitch ingredients, as well as the Foley I'll show you in a minute, and most of the other unique samples here are available on my Patreon. Just saying. Here's our main bass, which has 2 layers. The low end is covered by a max emulation of a plates module made by Fletchwork. I love both this emulation and the original model. It's just so round and juicy. Listen to how much variation you can get with just a few knobs. Up top, I'm using this contact library of an upright bass to add a little finger noise and some tone over the tails. It's a subtle touch that I hope a deep listener would enjoy. Here's the bass together. On the second pass through, I've added these anticipatory notes. It ups the ante and keeps the momentum going. You can see that I flattened the bass down to audio. That's because every time I trigger it out of the synth, I get a different phase. See how sometimes we're getting a little more cancellation than others? So I bounced it down to audio, and I'm automating this align delay to keep my phase as tight as I can. I've got this re-swell in our first turnaround. It's there to remind people that even when we're vibing, I'm still quite dirty and rugged. Envelopes are swelling in the volume, filter cutoff, and a little bit of FM in the sampler. I'm also using an external envelope follower to bring in a little bit of sine erosion, and putting it through Phase Mistress for some bubble. Our B section bass is very straightforward. I printed down some detuned saw waves to get some beating, and then tuned it back to hover around a stable note. I'm also using a slight pitch envelope at the beginning of each note for a quick swell. And I'm running it pretty low in the mix during this spacier section. In the second pass of our A section, I've got this serum patch. It's made of a glort-glunk table with a few sample and hold LFOs modulating the wavetable position, the detune amount, the filter cutoff, and a couple of other things. There's a little bit of distortion, EQ, filter, just tone shaping. I'm also using a Hypnus spellbook to move this formant filter around, because formant filters are cool. I've used it pretty sparingly, both because it's pretty grindy in the upper mids, and because I'd like to give you time to miss it before it comes back around again. That all adds up to a pretty nice bed that we can ornament with Foley and spot effects. Here I've got some balloon rubber, bathtub water, and a creaky chair. A cool thing you can do with these is use a transfer curve like this to take out just the tiniest little bit at the bottom here. That'll remove the ambience and the littlest bits, leaving you with just the loudest crinkles and cracks. Here's without and with. The beat rides pretty well already, but to take it over the top, let's add some delightful little surprises. Listen to how I'm automating in this reverb sweep with a down sample on it and then cutting it to silence right before the transition. Finally, let's talk about the synths. These 2 layers are pigments. The first one is just playing a couple quick notes, punctuating some space in the beat. I'm automating the panning position as well as the dry-wet on a redux. Listen to how this downsampling sweeps in over the tail of the note. Subtle, but lovely. This layer is just doing some spooky pad business in the B section. And I've also got a little plunky organ riff. Some great dusty texture there. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed it. All the unique samples and Foley in this track are included in packs on my Patreon, so hit subscribe on your way down there to click that link. Last thing, I've got an automatic randomizing dub throw on the snare, so about 20% of the time a snare hits, it'll send it to the echo rec delay on my dub channel and choose a different type of delay throw. Check out this video to see how I set one of those up. It's awesome for a lot more than just delays. See you next time!